Hi everyone, welcome to Good Day Chula Vista, and we are on our episode number 39, I believe, right? 39. And today we have a very special guest, and she's introducing her new book. It's a very impressive book, so you don't want to miss it. Stay with us. Well, here we are, and I want to say thank you for joining us today. And before we get started and I introduce you to my beautiful guest here, I want to invite you to please and beg you to share this video right now to your Facebook page. It's going to be a live interview chat here with my friend, and we want as many people to hear about her story. So please share the video with your Facebook friends right now. And if you get to hear it after we're not live anymore, make sure you share it. Watch the whole thing. We are going to be giving out one of her books at the drawing at the end of the show. So make sure you're making comments, participating, just interact with us, and your name will be entered into the drawing. And she's brought a free book for you. So one of you guys will get that book. Okay, so. Isela, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy that you're here. I hadn't seen you in years.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And how long was the drive?
Well, it took me a little over an hour. There was no traffic, surprisingly, so I got here pretty quick. I was able to run around and take care of some things.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're not here in Chula Vista anymore, so for you to drive all the way down here just to share this with us means a lot to me, so thank you. And so, I know you very well. You're a very good friend of mine. I love you. But I know that a lot of our viewers, since you've been gone a few years, a lot of our viewers might not remember you. So I want you to tell me about you, where you live, where you're from, what you do, just your name, what the company that you're with.
So I moved to Murrieta. I'm a realtor. I still do some business here in San Diego, but I mainly work out in the Riverside County. So I just... been busy working and finished my book, released it last month, and I've been busy with that. I also do ministry. I minister to women, ladies everywhere, and have a Bible study group together. So
Are you here from Chula Vista or you're from Riverside?
I'm from Chula Vista.
Oh, so you are from here.
Yeah.
How many years did you live here before you moved up there?
So I was born and raised here. I kind of moved around a lot, but for the most part, I lived here in Chula Vista. So I've been in Murrieta for going on my third year this year.
Oh, okay. It seems like longer.
It does.
So it's only 3 years. Okay, so then you're also doing real estate. For all of my friends that are realtors, we have so many clients that want to buy up there. So please know that Isela is doing real estate up there, so we can always refer our clients to her. And that way she can share about the community because she actually lives up there.
I'll take care of them.
So let's get to the good stuff. So this is one of the books that you brought. Thank you for giving me my copy. You have to sign it for me.
Of course.
So introduce us to your new book.
Okay, so CORAM DEO is the title, and it's basically a biography. My story. I felt compelled to share my story. I would share my testimony with so many people. When God's in the center of the conversation, He kind of leads us to share parts and pieces of our story with those that, are seeking answers.
Right.
So there just came a time where, I would hear a lot, you should write a book, or, you should be doing more with this. And those were just little parts of my life.
Right.
So, I prayed about it, and God led the way, and miraculously, this is the finished product, and it was all Him.
Like 160 pages.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to finish your book? Because I know you've been writing it since you left here, right?
I did. I started in 2011, and basically I would rewrite it. And so, I just received it as God didn't want me to finish it yet. It wasn't my time yet. There was more that
was going to happen.
That was going to happen, and it did. So 7 years later, so within a time span of the last 3 months, I finished it, and I was up for 2 days straight without sleeping. Everybody that knows me well knows that I like my sleep.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, I spent 2 days with no sleep to finish.
Just writing. That's how passionate you were.
That's how I was driven. Yeah.
So, what does CORAM DEO mean? I had never heard that phrase before your book.
So it's a Latin phrase, and basically it just means living under the presence of God.
Okay.
So, what that means to me is that,
Like under the protection of or the belief or
right, and just being under His presence. Like, people go through things their whole life. They face extreme situations, and they don't know that He is there. So, He showed me personally that He's been there through all my hard times. So that's when I knew that.
That was the name. You wanted to honor Him with the name. That's beautiful. So, who should read this book?
Everybody should read this book. Teenagers, women that are struggling, that have identity issues, that have problems in relationships, that where they don't understand, and then they think something's wrong with me, or something's wrong with this person. Anyone that feels that they have the need to judge other people, people that are driven by success and nothing else, just everyone in general. Even though you may not feel like you have issues, I just feel like everybody should read it, because I just made myself totally transparent in this book. I feel like I had to.
Right.
Because people often ask me, why would you write a book about your life? Why? Like, why would you do that to yourself?
But it's more about what was happening. It's not something that it's usual. It's not like it happens to everyone. So when they say that, they probably haven't read the book.
Right. And they just don't comprehend the motives behind, just why. Like, and if you made mistakes, why would you talk about it? But it's greater than that. It's when God drives you to do things, to share your testimony because it helps other people.
Right.
That's all you care about. I don't care what people say about me. I don't care at all. Not 1%.
You care who is going to benefit from the book.
Exactly. My story that was aired on the 700 Club.
I watched that. That was yes, intense.
Stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and after it aired, they keep a record of who calls in the show, and the producer of the show, sent me a text and said over 100 people were saved from watching your story. So think about all of the people that are going to be saved, that are who are led to God through my story, that have a chance to make it in life.
Right. So let's go into a little bit into detail about your story and what happened and how you decided to take that turn and turn to God. Because before that, I worked with you. We were at Ashland, and I mean that was a happy office. I always think back to, even though we were all broke because we were recovering from the crash of the market, it was a happy place. And you always seem really happy. I used to love talking to you, and this is when you were going through all this. So explain to all of us, because I know that a lot of the realtors here know you, and they were talking to you, taking your offers, and you were marketing yourself really heavily, but they didn't know what was going on behind the scenes. So tell us what was going on at that time in your life.
Okay, so I became a realtor in 2006. And that's when I joined Ashland. I was a new realtor, and that was when the market crashed. But I became very successful very quickly during that time. And money started making me feel powerful. I started to feel like I could conquer the world with my success. And so I was happy. I was just happy living life. But when I would go home, I just made my business my first priority, and my family became my second priority. Why? Because at that time, you had to pay close attention to everything that you were doing in order to get people in escrow, get your offers accepted. You know, I would get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to check my email, just as, just to, it was work.
Yeah.
And I remember having my baby, and I was in labor, and I was negotiating sales, and that's what my life was like. But I was not fulfilled, because no matter how much money I had, I was not happy. There was still all sorts of parts of me that were broken. And I didn't believe in God at the time, so I couldn't go to a therapist, a counselor. Nothing was going to help me, because whatever they told me, I was not going to listen. I'm a hard-headed person. I do what I want to do. I couldn't go to the Mike Ferry seminars or anything like that, because
you knew better.
I just felt like I don't like to listen to people.
Right.
Don't tell me what to do. I know what I have to do.
I know it all.
So, when the supernatural stuff, I don't know if, anyone's watched the 700 Club, my story on.
We put the clip on the show when we announced that you were coming, but I don't know if anybody clicked on it, but we'll make sure we add it in the comments so you guys can watch the interview, because that goes into very detail. But yeah, tell us about it.
So I have, at the time, my daughter was 2. She was 2 years old, and I, just a regular realtor, just dealing with day-to-day stuff. Everybody knew me. I was a little bit wild and crazy and liked to drink, and, just pretty much the life wherever I went, very outspoken. So my daughter, that was 2 years old, she started seeing monsters, and I couldn't see the monsters she was seeing, and I thought, maybe she's watching scary movies or something, somebody's showing her things that they're not supposed to show her. But I actually, it started to worry me when I started to see handprints on her actual skin.
Wow.
So that's when I said, oh my goodness, what in the world is on her skin? What's touching? You could see the actual fingers on her skin. And then when she had bite marks, like I was working on my computer, and we were going to have a tea party. So she went in her room, got her tea set, and when she came out, she said, my arm hurts. So when I looked at it, she had teeth marks on her,
oh my
on
God,
her arm.
how scary.
But it wasn't hers. It was the bigger teeth than hers, but they weren't adult teeth, but not her size teeth.
Right.
And the way where it was located, it was like impossible.
For her to have done it herself.
It was like this. So at that point, I said, I have to get her baptized. So I went to the Catholic Church, because I thought, I didn't know God at that time, but, I had her baptized, and, through that process.
Had you ever seen anything supernatural before that, like in your life? Before?
I did. When I was little, I watched an exorcism from a church. I was at church with my mom. It was a Pentecostal church, and they kicked all of the kids out. But there was an exorcism that was happening in the church, so I got to see a little bit of that. So I connected that
with her.
I connected well, if that's what God's about, then I don't want to know anything about him, if he even is real, because I didn't believe that he existed.
Right.
So during this process, when all of that stuff was going on, that's when I had to make a decision, whether I had to believe or I had no power and just no authority to do anything. So that's when I decided, I have to call my aunt, which was a pastor, and she came and she prayed with me, and, I felt the most peace that I've ever felt in my entire life. And things still kept happening. So I called my uncle.
Like what things were happening?
Spirits in the house. I started to actually see the spirits. And it was a brand new home. No one had lived there before, here in Otay Ranch.
Wow.
So, it wasn't like, oh, someone lived here before. No one lived there. So I started to see just different things. We would take pictures, and, spirits would be in the pictures. And we would hear things. My daughter would always see spirits, and it was just what everybody in the house was seeing, different things happening. And even people that would come over, they didn't know what was going on, but, one time a friend came over, and she was like, whoa, I just felt something touch my leg, but there's no one there. And she didn't know what was going on.
Right. You're like, oh my God.
Yes. So I just, I knew I had to do something. So when my uncle came over and asked me if I received God in my life, I said, of course, I have to do this. I don't know what it all entails, but I'll what do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
So he prayed with me, and, it was like a supernatural feeling that I had, that I knew, like, okay, I'm going to change. This is something good, and it's something different, where it's going to impact me forever.
Mm-hmm.
How I felt, like, God is supernatural, so he can make us feel however he wants us to feel.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only that type of impact, the situation, everything that happened to me, it had to take something super extreme in nature
Mm-hmm.
for me to change. Because, again, I was telling you earlier that nothing can convince me.
Right.
So something so impactful and powerful like that, it took for me to change.
I think that's what it is. Like sometimes you get what you're gonna need to make that change, because otherwise you would have never listened or called your uncle. I mean, it had to be that extreme for you to actually pay attention to it.
Right. Yeah. And it was at that point where my life just went. I started to be able to listen to what God had to say.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds crazy to people because they're like, you're crazy. That doesn't sound normal. But it actually is, because God is so powerful. Just the way that, I received, he wanted me to start a women's ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just did that. Supernaturally, women would send me emails. Hey, I don't know who you are, but I feel like you can help me. Mm-hmm. So then I would pray about it, because I didn't know how to handle it. It was all new to me. So I would pray about it, and surely God would come through and say, this is what you need to tell them. And they would be like, how did you know?
Yeah. You get the message. You can actually hear it.
Right. And just, starting to learn and grow more in depth with what he says in the Bible. That was another step for me, because I have a disorder with my eyes. Like, when I read, I get nauseous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I have. But, so a breakthrough for me was being able to read the Bible and not have that problem, which was a breakthrough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, just all my experiences in life since I was a child, since my birth, and you guys would have to read the book to see what I'm talking about, have been extreme in nature. So extreme. Mm-hmm. Like, when you read my book, you're going to be like, wow.
Yeah, even just with the interview that you did for the 700 Club, when they go into detail what you had been going through ever since you were very young, and when you had your first daughter, and being on the streets, where am I going to sleep? I'm just going to walk all night because I don't have a place to sleep. I mean, going through all that, I think, do you believe that you always had this power that you have right now to help someone, but you were just not using it on the right things?
Mm-hmm. I actually feel like I was led by the devil. The devil is so powerful, but mm-hmm. I was so broken that it made me comfortable to see other people broken too. It made me feel like now they have something in common with me.
Yeah. Misery likes company. Misery likes company, they say, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, my mom, like, may she rest in peace. And I know that my sister was mad at me. She said, why do you talk about my mom? She's not here. But it's not that I'm talking about her.
You're sharing the story.
I'm sharing something that she would be happy if it's used to glorify God.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. She, would seek tarot card readers, fortune tellers, palm readers, all these things, all these spiritual people, that, it opens up the gates to just bad.
Yeah. I think that's very common. Like, I've done that. I never thought that it would open to anything bad. Is that what happened?
That's what happened. And so I thought it was normal. So when I was in a dark place, I said, I need to find out what's going to happen with me, with my life. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to seek a tarot card reader. And a family member did a reading for me, and she gave me hope. So I was so intrigued by it that I learned how to read the cards. And I started to read them to my friends. And then I started to do witchcraft because that wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
The witchcraft that I would do was I wanted to seek power. I wanted people to acknowledge me. I wanted people to not see me as a broken person because I came from, my parents were real estate investors. We had, I never needed anything. We were well off growing up. We traveled. We did all kinds of stuff. So when my parents passed away, I was 16 years old at the time, and I ended up with nothing on the streets, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want people to see me like, okay, who are you and what good are you?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to see me like my worth. I wanted them to know that I had value. So the only way to be able to try to do this was through witchcraft.
Or you thought.
Or I thought. But it just opened up a lot of really bad doors for me.
Right.
So in the midst of that, I had to find a job, and I couldn't find a job. No one would hire me. I was 16 years old. So I just started to do a lot of bad things, and I ended up at a strip club, and that's where they hired me.
Mm-hmm.
On the spot, paid me under the table.
Mm-hmm.
But that made me feel guilty and disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't last long, but the point is that I still did it, and it affected me in the long term.
Yeah, lower your self-esteem to be able to do other things.
Right. But, just so many things in life that we do just affects us. And, it could be the smallest things, and we carry it with us.
Mm-hmm.
And it just affects us. Just when I met my husband, he would tell me, you need to pray. And I would hate him for it. How dare you? You think there's something wrong with me?
Right.
I would get so insulted because I didn't believe in God at the time.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just a combination of everything.
Everything together. You've been through so much, and like I tell you, when we were there working together, it just never showed. Like, I remember you told us a story once of what was going on at the house, but even then, like, you didn't tell her like it was something scary. Like, you would just say like, oh my God, this is happening, and it was just like what we were talking about at the office that day. So after you left and you said you were writing the book, and then I started seeing all the changes in you. I'm like, I wonder what happened. And then when you came up with the book, and then I saw the interview, I was like, oh my God, now I can see that it all makes sense. That's what you were going through. And it takes a lot for someone to open up and come out and say, especially in this area where we are, where everybody knows each other. And like you said, we like to criticize and point the finger, but it's not about doing that. It's about sharing, so other people that are in your shoes right now, they can say like, oh, like, look, she's doing so good. She actually did it, and she came out of it, and she's doing wonderful. And I think that's what this book is going to bring to a lot of people. Like, it's okay. Maybe they don't want to share it, but they learn, and they have hope that it's going to get better. That just because your parents died when you were little, and then you were left with nothing, and you had to do what you had to do, but that's what brought you here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Wow. Well, if you guys watch that interview, we're going to place a link, you'll know more, but definitely get the book. And so where can they buy it?
So they can go to www.coramdeothebook.com, or it's also available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Okay, so they're at both of those places. Great. Well, you're going to get one free here today if you're making a comment and asking questions. And we'll see if you guys have any comments. We'll go over those. So what advice do you give to those that are going through rough times right now, especially women, single moms, or, single parents, single dads that are going through a rough time?
Well, a lot of you probably haven't felt the power of God personally and intimately, because I know a lot of people that go to church, but they hear and they believe, but they've never been impacted.
Right. They don't have a relationship with Him.
They don't.
Right.
So I would say pray, because everything starts with prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But even though you feel like this is ridiculous, because, at first I didn't know how to pray. I would just, kind of would talk. But it just all starts with prayer and petition, asking God to guide you, to give you the strength, to encourage you every day, to just seek answers. And you could be just very specific, very direct, and then you'll see how your life will start to change. But it just all starts with prayer.
Yes, I agree. And you can always, we do it here at the office. I mean, not everybody does it, but we have, like, there's some of us that if we have an issue at home or with a client, we need help, a transaction, or anything that's going on in our personal life, we always try to get together with 2 or 3 of us. And I always think the more people that pray together, the more powerful it is. It's because there's 3 people asking for the same thing at the same time. And I do believe that works, and we do it often, like the people that here in the office that pray. We do it. We're not ashamed of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing, because he's, when 2 or more meet, that's, he's present. That's just in the Bible.
Right. There's Diana de la Torre. She's one of the ladies that prays with me, and sometimes I have something and we're like on our app, WhatsApp. I'm like, oh my God, let's do it right here on WhatsApp because I'm somewhere. Like, let's just pray for it. And, a lot of people don't think that it impacts your business and your life, but I believe it does. I believe it does, and I can see it, and you feel better immediately. You just feel like, okay, it's not on my hands, and it's going to be fine. I feel like I'm being protected. My clients are being protected. My life is being protected. Whatever happens is to take me to a better place, a better outcome.
I actually, my business, I have to respect everybody's, personal beliefs. But every time I meet with a client, I always pray all the time. And it just, for some reason, it just happens like a conversation will strike. And, it happened a few months ago. I was with a client, and she opened up to me about something very personal, and I prayed with her. And after I prayed with her, she just started to cry. And she was like, I'm so sorry. She kept saying she was sorry. But she was like, I can hear the birds, and the sky looks so beautiful, and I just feel like so at peace right now. And she kept apologizing to me. I said, you don't have to apologize. That's the Holy Spirit.
Right.
So, it's just, it's the most beautiful thing in the world is just seeing the impact of God in others.
Right.
And how he can use you to impact others. Right. And, then when they feel that impact, they understand that everything that comes from God is beautiful. And, it's just setting reminders, applying it to our business, applying it to our daily lives, relationships, friendships, strangers, it's just a circle of his spirit and what he wants us to do, and just being able to identify those things that come from him.
I agree. It's happened to me that sometimes when we pray with someone that it's not used to praying, they cry because they feel so good. And it's amazing how they always, even it could be the toughest person, but if you do that prayer with them, they'll usually always cry. But it's a happiness they feel. It's not like they're crying because they feel bad. It's the opposite. And I like, not that I like to see them cry, but I like to see that they feel that, because I know, maybe that was the first time, but they'll continue doing it because they liked how it felt.
Exactly. That's pretty much how it happened with me.
Right.
So it all starts with prayer.
And it takes time, to get used to it. A lot of people get embarrassed, and even here, like we had Gisela last time we were here, and we got some comments like some people are not comfortable hearing about it. Even. I thought that was funny, right? I was like, well, don't watch it, if you don't like it. It's just a Facebook live show. It's not like we're forcing you to watch it. But I just thought how makes, like you said, it makes some people very uncomfortable. And I think I used to be embarrassed, like to show, like, okay, well, let's pray about it. Let's just hold hands and pray about it. I just thought that was like, oh my God, please don't do that in front of everyone. And now it's like, I honestly was embarrassed to do that. But as I got more used to it, and as my relationship got, better, more connected with God, and actually really, really believing that, he's always there, I didn't care. I'm like, I'm just going to pray. I don't care if somebody's watching me. Let's hold hands and let's pray, and they can be thinking whatever. because in my heart, I know that it will get to them. Like they will feel something and they will like it. Whatever they feel, they're going to feel that peace, like you said, and they will like it and we'll come back to it. You know, they'll come back like, Fabi, can we pray again? Yeah. And I'm not really good at it. You know, I just have a conversation with God. Whatever I think I'm asking for, I'm being grateful. And it's not like I know any special, you know, prayer. You just have a conversation with Him.
Right. And, you know, it's all about planting the seed. And from there,
Yeah,
you know,
planting the seed, that's right.
right. But, you know, everybody has their free will. They're free to do whatever they want. God gives us free will. But yeah, I do come across a lot of people that, you know, they'll say, oh, look at, they think they're better, or, you know, they act like they're all religious, or, you know, it's people are gonna say things, even, you know, no matter what you do, they're gonna always.
Well, because now because you're praying, you have to prove that you're perfect.
Right, but
so now they're paying attention, like, oh, look, she's praying, but she's doing that.
But there's no such thing as perfection.
I know.
There's no such thing, because we all have flesh, and we're
human.
We're human, and we operate with our flesh. Our flesh. We have.
And we're here to learn and get
We're here to
better.
learn.
Like, we are learning. Every day we get better, and every day we learn. I mean, nobody's perfect. I mean, even if you have this good connection with God, you still criticize people without even thinking, and you're like, oh my God. But at least you catch it. Now, when you do it, you know you're doing it. Before, you would do it and not even care about it. You thought it was fine. But now, whenever you're doing something like that, you catch it immediately. You know it's wrong.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, before it's like, okay, God doesn't exist, so who cares?
That's your excuse,
There's
right?
no consequence for me. I just, I have to live with it, and that's it. But I'll get over it. I'll be fine. But now, God's there, and you feel like, okay, that's not a good thing to do. So I need to redirect my thoughts, and I need to redirect my way, of being. So, you just live wanting to please God all the time now.
Right.
Once you accept
And
Him.
by doing that, you're just a happier person. It benefits you. You know,
Right.
you're doing it that way, but it all comes back to you, and you end up living a very happy life.
Well, it's tough. It's tough because it's easier to live life in sin than it is to walk a finer line with God, because you have to be obedient. Like, sometimes, you have those thoughts where I shouldn't, but, you have a ministry of women that they're calling you, and they have all these problems, and you want to be selfish with your time, and you want to do what's fun. You want to do what you want to do.
Right.
But when God calls you to do those things, you have to not be selfish. So it's not fun. It's not fun to.
It's a responsibility.
It's a responsibility, but God, when you pray about it, God gives you the patience. He gives you the structure. He tells you what's important. It's not all about you. It's not all about your business. It's not all about, your husband. You have to you have to put him first. Right. And then everything follows. But, it's not an easy life. It's not fun and games. It's not, it's very, very hard.
To stay obedient.
And you do have joy.
Don't get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged.
It's possible.
It is possible. It's just your joy comes from Him, and just the way you approach situations that you would approach in a different way, you approach them His way.
Right.
And you seek help. You seek answers from Him, not yourself.
Right.
So it just makes things so much better.
Yeah, because somebody else is in control. It's not even all up to you anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's a relief.
It is.
It is a relief. So this is her book, and I think it has 14 chapters.
It's 14 chapters.
14 chapters. So make sure you guys read it. Let us know what you think about it. And let me go here over the, because I think Lorena, do you remember Lorena Salcedo? She's an attorney. She's been here a couple of times. She's here. Hola, Meraf. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're loving this interview. You have to meet Isela. She's great. My brother, David. Lencha. Is that what he called you before?
Yeah, I would call him Chencho. We worked at Ashland, so we always make fun of each other.
That was like a big family,
Yeah.
right? Lencha. I remember it. What was Vicky? Vicky had a name too.
Nacha.
Nacha and Lencha, yeah. You guys were so fun. Okay. Luis, thank you for joining us. Everyone here, There's a lot of new viewers that were not usually here and they're here today. Thank you, Sal. Becky, thank you for joining us. Okay, let's do the raffle for the book. Yay! So she's gonna pull one name and then we're giving out one book. We'll have her autograph it.
I will.
For the person that wins. So pull out a name.
Okay, let's see.
We forgot our sound little thing.
I don't win reroll.
You what? Here you go, right? Because we don't have a big table anymore. Luis Isais, yeah, he needs this book. He's in my team.
Okay.
Luis Isais. Yay! So we'll have her sign it for you, and you and your girlfriend can read it. He's engaged. He's getting married pretty soon. So I think this will be a good book for him.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to add?
I would just say, the best thing that you could ever do in your life is pray and follow God's direction. And it's not too late. You're not. So many people say, I'm not worthy enough. I've done too many bad things, or I just don't know how, or confused, or should I even do this? Yes, you should. You should totally do this. Totally pray and get structure in your life. Read the Bible, even if it's one verse a day. You'll start to grow, and you'll see what life's all about. It's not about us, but it's all about Christ. So
Yes, it is. Amen to that. Well, thank you
Thank
so
you
much
for
for
having
joining
me.
us. Hopefully, a lot of people get the
Absolutely.
book. They log into your page, or do you have a business Facebook page?
I have a book page.
A book page in Facebook.
Yes, it's yeah, I do.
So if somebody wants to reach you for real estate business up in Riverside, where can they reach you at?
On my personal page.
Okay, and that's under just your name.
Right.
Okay. So we'll put the links. Make sure you go into the show and answer the questions, make a comment so that way they can connect with you.
Okay.
And don't forget to check out our other videos from the previous weeks if you haven't seen them. And we are uploading some of them to YouTube. And we are going to leave you with one of our new listings. It came back on the market. We had a little issue with that listing. It had to be repaired, so it went through a remodel. So now it's back on the market. So we're going to leave you with that video. We're having an open house this Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 4, 11 to 3. Yeah, 11 to 3, sorry. So see you guys next week. Thank you, amiga hermosa.
See you guys. Thank you for having me.